Hi everybody, I'm Joel Stocksdale with Autoblog, and this is the 2023 Land Rover Defender 130. And what that 130 means is that this is the longest version of the Defender. There's a 90 that's a two-door short wheelbase version, a 110 that is longer and has four doors, and then there's this, the 130, shares the same wheelbase, but has a whole bunch of sheet metal tacked on at the end. Up front, things are pretty much unchanged. It's the same retro take on the classic, very square and hard-shouldered vintage Defender, but it's all been rounded and modernized, modern bumpers, LED headlights, and this particular version is riding on enormous 22-inch 5-spoke wheels. They're quite attractive, they're simple, they've got the Defender logo in there. They do make it ride a little bit rougher and probably isn't ideal for serious off-roading. You would probably want to go with smaller wheels and bigger tires. Down the side, we've got this fender vent with the Defender logo, another callback to old Land Rovers. It's got colored roof, which is separated by some black trim and things. Gives it kind of a vintage look also. It's got an unusual little square of color here. It's just for style. You can actually also get cargo bins that mount to the side as well as ladders so that you can get up to the roof rack. Back here is also the main event for the 130. It's all of this extra part. It's more than 13 inches longer than the 110, and it's all in this back section. It's all to give a much roomier third row seat as well as additional cargo capacity. Now, the extra length does mean that the departure angle is significantly reduced compared with the shorter one. So again, if you're really serious about off-roading, you might want to skip this one, but if your cargo and passenger needs exceed your needs for off-road capability, this is what you're going to want to look at. In the back, there's just over 15 cubic feet of space behind these third row seats. And when you go in to fold them down, you're up to about 35 cubic feet behind that second row. The second row will fold also, and that'll get you up to about 76 cubic feet. There's a little bit of a lip here and there's no getting around it. It's a little bit unfortunate. It would be nice if it was completely flat, but for the most part, you've got a lot of space back here. If this load height is a little high, either for getting groceries in or say loading up your dog, this Defender is equipped with air suspension, and there are buttons here that allow you to lower the back end for easier access. Something else to note about the Land Rover Defender 130 is that it's capable of towing up to 8,200 pounds, and that's with either of the engines, both of which are 6 cylinders. The Defender 130 has air suspension equipped, and that allows it to go from a standard ground clearance of 8.5 inches up to 11.5, which significantly improves its off-road capability. And as we saw at the back, it allows for the back end to lower for easier access, and the whole vehicle will lower when parked as well, so that it's easier to get in and out of the vehicle. Now, before we go any further into the interior, we're going to talk a little bit about the engine. There are two engines available for the Defender 130, at least nominally. I mean, they're both 3-liter turbocharged straight sixes, but one is a lower output one that makes 296 horsepower with 295 pound-feet of torque, and the other one that's fitted to this Defender is also 3 liters turbocharged, but it's a mild hybrid. It's got a 48-volt hybrid assist, and this one makes 395 horsepower and 403 pound-feet of torque. And having driven it a fair bit, it definitely feels like it. I'd almost say that it feels a little bit underrated. The engine is paired to an 8-speed automatic, regardless of whether you get the low output one or the high output one, and all of them have full-time 4-wheel drive. This one has a locking center differential, which allows you to ensure that you've got power going front and rear off-road, and there are additional off-road goodies on higher trims. No matter which engine you get, combined fuel economy is actually the same. It's 19 miles per gallon. So there's not really an efficiency gain for getting the low output engine. It would mostly be if you're trying to save a little bit of money. So now we're inside the Land Rover Defender 130, and it's a great combination of luxuriousness and ruggedness. You'll find lots of nice leather trimming with stitching all around on the dashboard, on the seats, as well as natural finish wood trim. But there's a lot of hard-wearing materials that are clearly designed for something that's supposed to go off-road. You've got chunky rubbery plastics, You've got this big tray here that you can just chuck a whole bunch of stuff in here. There's even grab handles for when you're going off-road so that your passenger can stay put. You've got all these cool exposed bolts and fasteners along the doors and in the center console. Even the steering wheel has these chunky metal spokes that just evoke the toughness that has always been connected with the Defender name. And ergonomics are pretty good too. Visibility is great. You sit up really high, sills are low, you can see out at every corner of the truck. You've got a lot of headroom. All the controls and stuff are really close. You've got nice big knobs for climate control. They're also interesting because if you press on them, you access additional functions. It's an extra step, but it is kind of cool. You've got either in base models a 10.25 inch infotainment screen, and on this one an 11.4 inch screen. It's quite responsive, it's very attractive, and it offers quite a bit of functionality. You've got access to your navigation and phone and music and things like that, but you also have access to functions for the off-road system. For instance, you can get information about the incline that you're on, what the suspension is doing. This also gives you access to the locking center differential. It gives you compass readings, altitude. It'll also give you information about if you're wading through water. You've got on-road cameras for maneuvering around parking lots and things, making sure that you're not bumping into stuff. You've got off-road cameras that will show you along the sides of the vehicle to help you maneuver on top of rocks so that you're not scraping onto them, you're not sliding off or straddling them wrong. And also cameras for helping you out with hooking up a trailer. The instrument cluster also features quite a bit of configurability. You can have it show the map from navigation, you can have it show just regular gauges and fuel economy information. It'll show you most everything that you're looking for on the other screens. The seats are interesting. The backs are quite supportive. They've got good bolstering and plenty of adjustment. What I would like to see is slightly longer seat bases, or ones that are a little bit more adjustable. And they feel slightly overstuffed toward the leading edge, which has kind of put a little bit of extra pressure on my thighs that I'm not super fond of. But for the most part, the seats are fine, and the seating position is great. It's very SUV-like. It feels like a classic off-road SUV. The back seats are surprisingly accommodating. They've got lots of legroom, they've got lots of headroom. The view through the panoramic sunroof is great. They're a little bit flat, but that tends to come with most back seats. And the space doesn't end here. The back seats, the third row, are surprisingly roomy. To get back there are levers on the seat backs, which you pull, it folds it forward and slides it forward. Now getting back here is not the easiest thing in the world, especially if you're a little bit on the large side like yours truly. So my recommendation would be to get a hold of the grab handle, step at the lower spot, and use that to get started. And then you can step into the back. Now, like so many third row seats, it is a little hard and flat back here, but that's kind of typical among third row seats in SUVs. And you don't mind it as much because you've got lots of headroom. And in this case, you've got a rear sunroof, which is nice too. And when you actually pull the seat back, amazingly, there's room for a full-size adult back here. I've actually got plenty of legroom. Now, if your second row passengers are a little greedy, it could be a little tight. But as long as they're willing to sacrifice maybe a tiny bit of legroom, adults are fine back here. So while you wouldn't want to be here for a long, long time, even just for moderate rides, this works for a lot of people. And that's our 2023 Land Rover Defender 130. Base models start at just under $70,000, and the top trim level starts at just over $100,000. Let us know what you think of our Land Rover in the comments below, and be sure to check us out next week to see what else is in our fleet. And of course, like, share, and subscribe. For Autoblog, I'm Joel Stocksdale. Thanks for joining us.